and welcome everybody. Could you please take your seats so we can get going here? Thank you. Welcome to the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame 24-year anniversary induction ceremony dinner. My name is Therese Fortin-Barnes, and this is my third year as president of the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. I'm very happy to be here at the Buffalo Niagara Convention Center with a record number of 946 guests. So thank you. Congratulations to everybody. I would like to thank, most importantly, New Era, who is our presenter sponsor this evening, for all they do for the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame and for helping us throughout the year, for sponsoring the Hall of Fame and providing caps, and also for being our presenting sponsor. We like you to keep your phones on. We want you to tweet, we want you to post. We're all about social media, tag us, everything, but please silence them. But yes, we're all about keeping your phones on and making sure that we're all over social media. On that note, each one of you received a card on the table, or there's a couple cards on the table that we ask you to be mindful of speakers that are up here this evening. Paul Peck and all the other all the other inductees that are speaking, we ask you that you please try to be mindful of them and what they have to say and everything that they've prepared to do up here, and that you please try to be quiet while they're speaking. So we appreciate that you take that note and be courteous. We have a lot of people to thank this evening. In the program, we mentioned many of them, and of course you can take that home and read it, but we also want to mention that all the inductees have written a very thoughtful, very heartfelt thank you to their families, friends, and everybody that has supported them through the years and decades of everything that they've accomplished throughout their entire life and career. And they couldn't fit it all into their speech tonight, so in that page in the program, they tell you, and many of you, how much you all mean to them. The Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame is working with the Greater Buffalo Music Hall of Fame, the Greater Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame, to create a new museum in Western New York called the Buffalo Niagara Hall of Fame. You will start seeing a lot of information about this Hall of Fame. It's going to be a very exciting, interactive, educational attraction. The location is to be determined. We hope it's going to be somewhere in downtown Buffalo. We have a little exhibit tonight, just kind of giving you a little bit about what we're doing, but we've been planning this for a long time, so we just kind of want to put that in the back of your brains to let you know what we're doing. At this time, I would like everybody to stand as the color guard enters the room. The Canisius College Army, Niagara University, ROTC Color Guard. Please welcome them, sorry. And now Judy Caserta from Canisius College will sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing while the colors are retired. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce Hall of Fame class of 1996, Sister Maria Perez for the invocation.
God, Father and Protector, we gather here tonight to celebrate the lives and accomplishments of these athletes inducted into the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. These individuals brought honor, recognition, and entertainment to our community and to the varied venues in which they performed. In doing so, they made a difference by their presence. Today, in a world filled with fear and unrest, we ask you to send us persons of peace and courage to step forward to make a difference with their lives. Lives of action, not merely words. Words are never enough when it comes to what really matters, when we reach out to understand and be understood. We need actions that speak in wordless courage, in patience and kindness, talk that is neither boastful nor jealous, arrogant nor rude, that speaks by being, by doing. Hear not our words, not even our best words. Listen to our lives. Let our actions speak. Awkward as we may be, let us act out of love, wary of boasting and jealousy, content to speak humbly, affirming that your guiding hand will show us where to go, what to do, whom to see, and when to act. We ask too tonight that you bless the people who work so hard to bring this group together to celebrate their lives and their influence on our community. We ask that you also bless the people who prepared our food that we are about to receive and the gracious servers who will present it to us.
You may begin eating your salads, but remember to be courteous as our MC and inductees are speaking this evening. Here tonight to MC our induction ceremony is Paul Peck. Paul is a veteran sportscaster, the voice of the UB Bulls football, and now a financial advisor for AXA Advisors, which is also a sponsor this evening. Welcome, Paul Peck.
Thank you. Thank you, Therese. I appreciate that very much. Welcome, everyone. What a terrific looking crowd. We're going to have a wonderful night here tonight. You know, I was a little worried there. Therese got the Canisius Niagara thing messed up right off the bat, and I'm like, oh boy, we might be off to a bad start here. But I think we're okay because we had the Niagara Color Guard, a Canisius person singing the anthem. We've got a Bonaventure Bonnie going into the hall and a UB Bull as well, too. So I think we're all covered on the big forefront, Therese. We saved you on that. So, boy, we're playing the big room now, aren't we? This is pretty cool. I mean, this is the fourth different venue that has hosted the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and this is the top of the charts. I mean, we've got way more room. We've got the big room, as I mentioned, all the great stuff on the other side. How cool was it to see the people at the bars serving wearing referees' jerseys, huh? That was a good touch. kind of cuts out the middleman around here, doesn't it? Because most of the time what those guys call leave us running for the bar anyway, that speeds up the process a little bit. We're going to have a great night here tonight. We've got a lot in store for you. We have a wonderful class which covers all kinds of sports and all kinds of achievements and accomplishments. Plus, we're going to get a chance to honor all of our inductees, past inductees that are here as well too. So start eating, enjoy your meal. We've got a great night for you, and my number one job as the MC is to get this thing moving along and get us out of here on time, and I will do my best to reach that goal. Well, speaking of the history of Buffalo sports, we know it is what we have lived all our lives, both the good and the bad, and we thought this would be a good chance for us to relive some of those memories of great Buffalo sports, both the good and the bad. Hopefully some of the bad won't be included in the video. We'll leave that to yoga stores and the Galleria to do that. But please tune in and check out a little look at what it means to be a Buffalo sports fan. Pretty cool stuff, huh? Brings back a lot of memories for all of us. And what's cool about it is that most of the people that help form those memories for all of us are inducted already in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. And if we haven't gotten to them yet, we're working on them, and maybe they're up here so far here today. I want to let everybody know that the auction is going to close at 7:45. If you want one more chance to head out, they have some awesome memorabilia out there, some cool pictures and jerseys and great stuff. So you got about 15 more minutes or so until the auction closes. So finish up your salad and run out there and throw a couple of more bids in, and go ahead and make sure you bring yourself something home from the great silent auction out there. So I'm going to give you a couple of more minutes to keep eating here, and then we have another little video for you in just a minute or two, so hang in there. As I mentioned to you, this is the fourth different setting for the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. So whether it came at the Statler or in the First Niagara Center or most recently at the Hyatt, we have had some wonderful moments over the last 24 years. Memorable moments during our induction ceremonies as we have celebrated the lives and professional careers of hundreds of inductees. And we've collected just a few to share with you right here.
Welcome to the Marine Midland Arena for the annual Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
They did honor me at the Dunkirk High School banquet, and I was very proud to be honored there. They uprooted a tree in my honor.
Van Miller, Van, you made some money off of me, and I want my percentage.
You know, for the last 3.5 weeks, people were telling me, well, we can't see you. You need rabbit ears to see you. So I got these about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
C'était grand plaisir pour moi et un honneur. I know I look a little fat. Oh, I'm sorry.
But tonight is really not about me. It's about people.
And you go nowhere without a great family. Excuse me.
There's no place that I would have chosen other than Buffalo, and that was a big decision for us.
For 2 days, I've been driving everybody in the office, my family, anyone who gets near me, about what will I say tonight.
Now, if you went to Canisius, I'll slow down a little bit.
Every game, we would have had a shout out to Terry Pagula. They dropped the puck, we're underway. Hello, Terry!
Before I could do anything, I had to pass a physical, which I didn't pass. And Bill Polian told the doctor, listen, our special teams are really hurting. This guy can play. I think he's going to pass.
The book of Genesis describes the creation of the world in less than 400 words. Why can't you describe a high school basketball game in less than 500?
I am feeling butterflies, nerves, knees knocking, heart pounding, everything I felt in competing.
Only those words of the mother's comfort can give us some. You dumbass, why didn't you call a timeout with 9 seconds to go?
It wasn't only about wins and losses, championships and trophies. It was also a matter of pride, honesty, and integrity.
I want to thank the committee for electing me to the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. It's probably the only election I can win.
It's tough following a dynamic and humorous speaker. Fortunately, I didn't have that problem tonight.
It's sort of fun to be a golf pro from Buffalo because that always gets a little look, so I get to explain how great it is up here.
Well, I'm proud to be a Buffalonian, will always consider myself a Buffalonian, and this is a tremendous city.
Many names come to mind of people that have helped me in my career.
I'd like to thank the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. Kathy Gleason.
My sister Molly.
My mother and father.
My kids.
Eileen Polian.
Everybody on the committee.
Kicking the Dolphins' butts.
You need 2 yards, he'll get you 2 yards. You need 4 yards, he'll get you 2 yards.
I've always been proud to say I'm a Buffalonian.
But I want to thank everyone for this beautiful tribute that Delio's gotten. He would be humble and so very, very proud. I wish he was here, but thank you so much. And now my son.
During the cocktail party, a young kid came up to me and he says, "Doctor, could I have 25 of your autographs?" And I said, "Sure. What are you going to do with 25? He says, "I'm going to trade them for one of LaFontaine's."
Forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
We have a couple other things that we want to announce this evening. First of all, We want the all past inductees in the next 5 or 10 minutes to proceed over to the double doors over there so we can announce all the past inductees in about 20 minutes. And if you can just kind of, hopefully you've gotten your dinner and you've eaten. If not, you can eat when you get back, but if you could do that, that would be great. We have another video that we want to show here tonight from a very good friend of the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. You'll recognize him. I hope most of you recognize him. But he did this for us because hopefully we'll get him back here next year for our 25-year anniversary. But I'll let the tape roll and let it speak for itself.
Hi, I'm Chris Berman, and I want to heartily congratulate all the inductees in the class of 2014 at the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. It's an evening that you, your friends, and certainly your family will long remember, and it's an evening that is well-deserved. Thanks for everything you've done to put joy in a lot of other people's lives who, like us, just enjoy watching you and appreciating what you've done throughout the many, many years here in Western New York. Speaking of which, the board, great job. You ladies and gentlemen that take the time to make sure that amateur athletics in Western New York are not left behind. And as a matter of fact, they get a big boost, whether it's the actual athletes, the young athletes themselves, whether it's the teams, whether it's the coaches, whether it's a million other things. By contributing and paying attention, a lot of people give lip service. You guys don't, and it really does make a difference in people's lives moving forward, in addition to what we're seeing right now. But on top of everything else, I have one thing to add. There's no question that the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame could go all the way. Have a great night.
And we have one more video from Chris that we're going to show really quickly. The Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, we were as nervous as everybody else was about the Buffalo Bills leaving Buffalo because Jim Richer might be our last inductee. So we are very happy as a board that we are going to induct many more Buffalo Bills players, trainers, coaches to the Hall of Fame. So one more video from Chris I just want everybody to see that he did for us.
Hi, I'm Chris Berman of ESPN, and the great news for sports in Western New York continues. Congratulations to Terry and Kim Pagula, new owners of the Buffalo Bills. Franchise been around since 1960, since Mr. Ralph Wilson became a member of the Foolish Club, and now here we are in 2014. You're only the second owners of the Buffalo Bills. We know you'll take care of them. We know you'll circle the wagons, and we want to wish you the best of luck moving forward. Way to go.
Yay. So I want to mention a couple more things. Broadcast tonight is being viewed around the world on a webcast. This evening dinner is also being shown on Time Warner on Thanksgiving night. If you're all tired and full and you want to lay on your couch and watch the broadcast on Time Warner, it'll be aired at 8 p.m. There'll be 2 more tapings that we will announce when those will be, but we do not have the actual dates yet. Our sponsors. We couldn't do it with all of our sponsors. New Era, again, is our presenting sponsor, who gives $2,500 out every year to 2 different athletes, high school student athletes in their name. AXA Advisors and Lou Nucerino, who is on our board, thank you for being a continued sponsor. The Buffalo Bisons, Buffalo Sabres, and the Buffalo Bills for supporting us every year on this event. Ad Pro Sports and Davis Ulmer Sprinkler and Miller Lite and Serto Brothers are also sustaining sponsors that help us do this event every year. I want to recognize Town Auto for being the valet sponsor. You'll get some good chocolate on the way out, by the way. And Ilio DePaulo's for the wine on the table being donated by Dennis and Ilio DePaulo's. Thank you. A few new sponsors this year. We want to thank Lawley Insurance, Imagine Staffing, yay, Brian, and Unite for Good. We also have inductee sponsors we'd like to acknowledge. St. Joe's Collegiate Institute, WGRZ TV2, East Resources, University of Buffalo, Town BMW, Empire State Legacy Fund, Youngstown Yacht Club, and RCR. There we go. And RCR Yachts. Can you tell this is a sailing section over here, by the way? Our organization works to demonstrate the commitment to local sports communities throughout our Amateur Sports Development Fund, a fund that we really hold true to our hearts, that we give money out to different athletes, organizations, and teams. Chris kind of touched on that on the video, and we really are an organization that just doesn't throw on an event and just doesn't do a dinner. We give money back to the community. The fund provides financial assistance to amateur athletes and teams to foster their pursuit of higher level of athletic achievement. Since its inception, the ASDF, as we call it, has distributed more than $120,000. I've been on the board since 1998, and we have a very hard-working board. I want to thank all my fellow board members, who are most of them are here tonight, to their dedication and commitment to the Hall of Fame. 35 members on the board, and we all have a huge role in putting this dinner and induction ceremonies together. There are a bunch that I want to recognize that really have helped out with this ceremony tonight. Everybody has helped out a lot, but there's ones that have really put a lot into this dinner. Chuck Frawley, Rick Azar, Bill Crow, Booker Edgerton, Doc Kasevich, we're going to back that up a bit. I made a mistake again. Those are our founding members of the board. Chuck Frawley, Rick Azar, Bill Crow, Booker Edgerton, Warren Gelman, Doc Kasevich, who is here this evening. Thank you, Doc. John Kapelewski, Tim McGrath, Doc Myers, Sister Maria Perez, Dimitri Tetso, and Steve Elmer. 24 years ago, they had a vision, and here we are tonight. Now I would like to thank our special events committee and everybody that put this event together. Ann Brooker, Rebecca Brodziak, Doc Myers, Denny Lynch, John Boutte, Chuck Frawley, Tom Kohler, Paula Bogdan, John Maddock, Mary Summers Wen, Ralph Salerno, Tom Burns, Brian Kavanaugh, Mark State, Sean McCrossan, Suzanne Taylor, and Ann Brooker. Many endless hours, including our assistants, Tina Pastwick and Scout Albertson. Thank you all. If anybody saw the trophy, our trophy in front of us here tonight, it was made to reflect the people that had reached a pinnacle and had climbed a mountain that ended with a buffalo at the top. A former Tiffany & Company employee who also made many professional sports trophies, including the Vince Lombardi Trophy. So if you didn't get a look at it tonight or get your picture taken with it, you might want to take a peek at it. So, as Chris Berman once said in our video, the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame could go all the way. And he is right, because you have. So thank you to our board, our many volunteers, the Buffalo Gills alumni, Paul Peck, Reed Rankin, the Buffalo Niagara Convention Center, and many others that have helped to make this evening a success. Right now, I would like to have a small moment of silence for past inductees that we have lost over the years. And in 2014, we lost 2 of our inductees, Charlie Dingboom and Ralph C. Wilson, Jr. And also a moment of silence for the sacrifices of those who fell in the military service for our country. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. And I'm going to hand it over to Paul Peck, who is over at the side stage over here. He is going to introduce all of our Hall of Famers from the Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame from the past 24 years that are here with us this evening. Go ahead, Paul.
Well, thank you, Therese. And as Therese mentioned, we have a number of our past inductees that are here with us tonight. We want to introduce them, and they are being sponsored by Unite for Good. Unite for Good is a global movement that inspires and empowers acts of kindness and acts of service in communities around the world. Its supporters include everyone from world leaders, Hollywood's biggest stars, and everyday heroes. Unite for Good has selected Buffalo as its city for good for 2015 and will be creating a coalition of leaders, nonprofits, businesses, schools, and inspired individuals and launching new positive programs in our city next year. Founder Anthony Melikoff is here tonight, supporting the extraordinary individuals being inducted tonight. So now, to introduce some of our past Hall of Famers, and we want to recognize some inductees who are here in the audience, and we start with the great former Bills trainer. Let's say hello to Ed Abramowski. A recent inductee, a mentor and leader of our youth, and a great coach, Tovi Azaris. Not only an all-time great wrestler, but an all-time good guy, the Destroyer, Dick Beyer. Former UB football player, former UB team doctor, and maybe the funniest man in Western New York, Ed Gasevich. And on Sunday, he'll be the newest inductee to the Buffalo Bills Wall of Fame. Vandemonium has come to the Convention Center. Van Miller, the voice of the Bills. Next up, we want to recognize class of 2002 inductee from the West Side Rowing Club, Bill Cotter. Hi, Bill. How are you? From last year, the class of 2013 soccer coach, administrator, and all-around good guy from Buffalo State. Say hello to Fred Hartrick. From the class of 2012, he wore number 64, he called the signals, and he led the defense for the AFL champion Buffalo Bills, Harry Jacobs. From the class of 1996, basketball coach, Sister Maria Perez. Speaking of Bills Wall of Famers, he's already up there. We heard it in the audience. Number 24, Booker Edgerson. From the class of 2002, former CFL and Tonawanda football great Rick Casada. From the class of 2002, St. Bonaventure basketball coach and athletic director, Larry Weesey. From the class of 2010, St. Bonaventure great Whitey Martin. From the class of 1993, racket sports champion Charlie Garfinkel. Good to see you, Charlie. From the class of 2006, she's in for her accomplishments on the water and sailing, Jody Swanson Stark. Good, Dan. From the class of 2010, former Canisius College Athletic Director Dan Starr. From the class of 2012, from the Nichols School, one of the all-time great hockey coaches in Western New York, Frank Sekeli. From the class of 1991, do I need to say any more? It's Gilbert Perreault. Oh, we're on a run of great Sabres here, aren't we? From the class of 1997, it's Don Luce. Hey, Phil, how are you? From the class of 2011, baseball great Phil Mankowski. I don't need a card for you. From the class of 2009, former UB basketball coach and Niagara Falls High School basketball coach, the great Dan Bazzani. From the class of 2006, from Kenmore West basketball, it's Dick Harvey. From the class of 1994, basketball great Hank Nowak. From the class of 2007, you know him from basketball and maybe a few other things he used to do. We all know him, it's Tony Masiello. From the class of 2005, archery great David Rinn. From the class of 2012, the former administrator, athletic director, and coach at St. Joe's, let's say hello to Joe Wolf. Good to see you, Joe. How are you? Hello, Donnie. From the class of 2003, former UB and CFL all-time great quarterback, Don Gilbert. From the class of 2011, the outstanding former baseball coach at Canisius, Don Colpoys. Good to see you. From the class of 2004, baseball scout Bob Miskey. From the class of 2013, last year's inductee, the great sports writer from the Buffalo News, Milt Northrup. From the class of 2002, our Sabre greats just keep running across the stage. Say hello to Larry Playfair. Let's give a nice round of applause to all of our former Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame inductees. on, Sid.
Get in the picture here.
We're going to get started here in just a moment or two, so if everyone can make their way back to their seats, we are going to get our program underway. Jim Richer, we need you to lead the way as always and make your way back up to the front of the stage so we can get things going here. I know you offensive linemen like to talk. We're going to get our television broadcast started here, so we need a lot of enthusiasm from everybody. We need a lot of cheering and a lot of applause when we come on the air here to get our program underway and be enthusiastic and passionate like I know Buffalo sports fans always are. We're about a minute away from getting started. Well, hi everybody, and welcome to one of the best sports nights of the year in Western New York. This is the 24th annual Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. My name is Paul Peck, sportscaster and voice of UB Bulls football, and it is my honor to be your master of ceremonies. And that just means I get to introduce 12 men and women who've left a lasting impression and impact on our community through their skills, dedication, and enthusiasm. This year's class includes players, coaches, trainers, and broadcasters from the sports of football, hockey, basketball, running, and sailing. And when you hear their names, I want you to remember, think hard about the games, events, and moments they spark in your memory, because that's what this hall is all about, remembering the greats for the impact they had on all of us. So let's get started with the 2014 inductees. From the hills of Kissing Bridge to the top of the mountain at 3 Olympics, it's been all downhill for skiing champion Eric Schlopy. For 25 years, he tamed the Tigers at Bennett High and trained them to win in basketball, track, tennis, and football. Let's welcome legendary coach Larry Veronica. Well, her motor is always running, and running is the motor that led her to incredible heights and distances. She's the longtime track and cross-country coach at UB, Vicki Mitchell. And please welcome the first female president of the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, Therese Fortin Barnes. Well, he's been the wind in the sails of the local yachting community and one of the few who's mastered the gentle breezes of the Great Lakes. Let's welcome Skip Doyle. He's a Bills Wall of Famer who was a building block and blocker on the great teams of the 90s, a 14-year stalwart on the offensive line, Jim Richer. From St. Joe's to St. Bonaventure, the awards came marching in from one of our all-time best athletes. 5 times All-Catholic in 4 sports, twice All-Western New York. Say hello to Dale T-Pass. He sharpened skates and sewed sweaters, but more than that, he's been a friend and a father figure to every Sabre for the past 44 years. Let's tear it up for Rip Simonik. And finally, for 40 years, he was there at the games and on our TV, giving us the scores and the stories, the highs and the lows of Buffalo sports. Live at the Convention Center, he's sportscaster Ed Kilgore. How about one big round of applause for the 2014 class of inductees? All right, we've got plenty of time for more standing ovations. We've got a long night ahead of us. But these 8 greats are not the only inductees for tonight, because we also have a separate group of inductees that we're going to begin our program with. And this is the 8th year of a special award established to honor Buffalo area sports immortals posthumously. It is sponsored by Lou Billetier and Chef's Restaurant, and it's called the Pride of Western New York Award. And it honors 4 notable figures who distinguished themselves on the national stage. The 2014 inductees are Clint Small, Edith Johnson Miller, Ernie Warlick, and Howard Emke. So we will begin by having you please direct your attention to the screens as we induct our first honoree, Clint Small.
A stone plaque at the stadium in Tonawanda that bears his name reads, "Dedicated to Clint Small, teacher, mentor, friend, coach, the greatest warrior." A 1934 graduate of Tonawanda High School, Small starred in football, basketball, and baseball. After bachelor's degrees from Canisius College and Ithaca College, 4 years in the Army during World War II, and a master's degree in education from the University at Buffalo, Small began a legendary coaching career at Tonawanda High. As head football coach from 1949 through 1973, Small led the Warriors to a record of 108 wins, 69 losses, 15 ties, including 5 league championships and not a single losing season from 1956 to 1972. His teams ran off 21 consecutive wins from 1963 to 1965. Upon his retirement from football in 1973, the stadium was renamed Clinton H. Small Stadium in his honor. 40 years later, a brand new replacement stadium was built on the school's campus and retains the same name. Despite his accomplishments on the gridiron, Small achieved even greater success on the baseball diamond. During his 31 seasons as head baseball coach, Tonawanda never had a losing season, while compiling a record of 330 wins, 150 losses. He coached Tonawanda to the sectional playoffs 19 times, winning 8 titles. Clint also coached the Eldridge Club AAA baseball team and was a co-founder of the Tonawanda News Baseball League. Although small in stature, Clint Small has been called a giant of a gentleman. In 1973, a Tonawanda News editorial said, "There hasn't been a Tonawanda High pupil in the last 26 years who has not been helped in some way by Clint Small." Tonawanda's greatest warrior passed away in December 1999 at the age of 85. Clint Small, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
And if you haven't been to a TNT game at Clint Small Stadium, either the old one or the new one, make sure you get there. It is one of the great nights of the year in Western New York high school sports. We want to recognize members of the Clint Small family that are here tonight as part of our ceremony. Stand up, please. Thank you for coming. Our next Pride of Western New York inductee is Edith Johnson Miller.
Edith Johnson was a young teenager at Fosdick-Maston High School when she began competing in bicycle racing and speed skating. She burst onto the national scene in 1960 at age 15 when she won her first of 5 National Women's Bicycle Championships after winning numerous local junior championships. During the winter, she competed in speed skating and won 3 national championships during her career. Her times made her eligible for the 1960 U.S. Olympic women's speed skating team, but she did not have the financial support to travel to the 1960 Games in Rome. Her fame drew invitations to compete in the World Cycling Championships in England, but again, her dreams of competing were dashed when she could not raise the expense money to compete. Her father, Clyde, was her first coach, and she used the same Schwinn bike and just 2 pairs of skates throughout her career. In both sports, she was the youngest female competitor to win a title. After winning her second national cycling title in 1961, she was featured in Sports Illustrated as a 15-year-old speed skater with Olympic potential and received the key to the city from Buffalo Mayor Frank Sedita. Edith was respected by many of her male bike racing colleagues, even the ones she beat in local and regional competitions. She later became an accomplished commercial artist and married John Miller. She passed away in 2004 at the age of 59. Edith Johnson Miller, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
And let's recognize members of Edith Johnson Miller's family that are here tonight. Please stand and give them a nice round of applause. Our next Pride of Western New York honoree is former Buffalo Bill Ernie Warlick.
Known for his gigantic hands and gentle personality, Ernie Warlick arrived in Buffalo as a free agent with the Buffalo Bills in 1962, after 4 years of experience with the Calgary Rough Riders of the CFL and a 4-year stint in the military. As a mature leader, Ernie helped Coach Lou Saban mold together a group of young players into a championship team in less than 3 years. With Ernie as a primary receiving threat from his tight end position, Saban developed an offense that allowed Warlick to lead the team in receptions in his first season. Along with being an outstanding blocker, Warlick went on to catch 90 passes for over 1,500 yards during his 4-year career. Warlick was an important member of the 1964 and 1965 AFL championship teams in Buffalo, catching a touchdown pass from Jack Kemp in the 1965 title game for the only offensive touchdown in a 23-0 victory over the San Diego Chargers. Born and raised in Hickory, North Carolina, Warlick attended segregated schools before the dawn of the Civil Rights Movement. He graduated from North Carolina Central University, where he starred in football and basketball. After retiring from the Bills, Ernie briefly worked at Channel 2, becoming the first African-American sportscaster in Western New York. He was inducted into the Buffalo Broadcasters Hall of Fame in 1998. He went on to own a hamburger franchise and serve as a regional sales representative and continued to make his home in Amherst. He was an active member of the Buffalo Bills Alumni Association and served as its president and vice president over the years. Ernie passed away in November 2012. Ernie Warlick, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
And let's recognize members of Ernie Warlick's family along with the Buffalo Bills Alumni Association that are here tonight. Our final Pride of Western New York honoree is Howard Emke.
A native of Silver Creek, Howard Emke had one of the most successful Major League Baseball careers ever among Western New Yorkers. Emke began his big league career in 1915 at the age of 20 with the Buffalo Blues of the Federal League. He went on to pitch for 15 seasons with the Detroit Tigers, Boston Red Sox, and Philadelphia Athletics. In total, Emke posted a record of 166 wins and 166 losses and had 10 or more wins 9 times. Emke was a 20-game winner for the last-place Red Sox in 1923, a season that also included a no-hitter. 4 days later, he followed that gem with a one-hit performance, giving him the American League record for fewest hits allowed in consecutive games. He was among the league leaders in complete games, strikeouts, and innings pitched, and finished 11th in MVP voting. He followed up in 1924 with a 19-win season in which he was second in strikeouts, led the league in innings pitched, and was 15th in MVP voting. After a trade to the Athletics, Emke had a winning record for the A's each season from 1926 through 1929. He became the surprise Game 1 starter in the 1929 World Series when he convinced legendary manager Connie Mack that he could get these Cubs out. Emke pitched a complete game, struck out 13, a World Series record that stood until 1953, held the Cubs scoreless until the 9th inning, and won the game 3-1. Upon his retirement a year later, Emke sold another idea to his former manager Mack, a large canvas tarp that could be spread over the infield when it rained to keep water off the baseball diamond. That was the beginning of the Emke Manufacturing Company, which is still in business today. Howard Emke passed away in Philadelphia in 1959 at the age of 64. He was inducted into the Chautauqua Sports Hall of Fame in 1983. Howard Emke, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
Piece of trivia about Howard Emke. He was a pallbearer at Babe Ruth's funeral. How about that? Pretty cool, huh? Let's recognize members of the Howard Emke family that are here tonight. Please stand and let's give them a nice round of applause. Those are our Pride of Western New York honorees. Well, and now we begin the second part of our induction ceremonies with the folks that you see up here at the head table. And our first inductee of the night is Eric Schlopy.
A native Western New Yorker, Eric Schlope developed his love for skiing on the hills of Colden, New York at the Kissing Bridge Ski Resort. When he was 13, his family moved to Stowe, Vermont, where he could further pursue his passion for skiing. In Vermont, Eric enrolled in the Burke Mountain Academy and went on to become a force in junior ski racing. At the age of 14, he was the Eastern Junior Champ, and at the age of 16, he was the Junior 1 Slalom and Giant Slalom Champion. These early accomplishments propelled him onto the U.S. ski team at the age of 18. In 1992, at the age of 20, Eric competed in his first World Cup event in Italy. His career was almost cut short by a horrific crash on the mountain in 1993 when he broke his back, 2 ribs, punctured a lung, severed his tongue, and cracked his sternum. He was out for the remainder of that season, but returned in 1994 in time to make the U.S. Olympic team. Eric competed in 3 Olympics over his career. In 1994 at Lillehammer, he placed 34th in the giant slalom. After a brief retirement, he came back to ski in the 2002 Salt Lake City Games, finishing 14th in the slalom, and in 2006 he finished 13th in the giant slalom at the Torino Olympics. Eric became U.S. national champion 7 times, took 12 NORAM Cup titles, and was a World Pro Ski Tour Rookie of the Year with the #1 ranking in the U.S. in 1995-96. He was a World Super G champion in 1998. He took a bronze medal in the giant slalom at the World Championships in 2003 and finished 2nd and 3rd in Italy during a World Cup event in 2006. Eric currently resides in Salt Lake City with his wife, former Olympic swimmer Summer Sanders. He has retired as a professional skier and now works as an alpine ski coach with the U.S. men's alpine ski team, grooming the next up-and-coming ski champions for the United States. Eric Schlope, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
This is proving to be a pretty good week for Eric because he just found out he has been elected to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame as well. Sponsoring Eric Schlope is Davis Ulmer Sprinkler, and representing up here for them is Fritz Schlope. Let's welcome Eric Schlope.
I was telling my friends that this feels like a wedding, a graduation, and a 40th birthday party all wrapped into one. So, pretty good party. And a good reason to get together. And thank you, Buffalo, for honoring all of us at this incredible event and for inviting me to be part of such a distinguished class. And congratulations to my fellow inductees for all of your achievements and for the many ways you've helped shape the city of Buffalo. I am proud to be among you. I am also proud to be able to share this moment with my wife, kids, family, and friends who've traveled from all over the country to be part of this special night. It's nice to be back in Buffalo tonight. Whenever I come home, I'm reminded of something I like to call Buffalo tough. Boston might have Boston strong, but here in Buffalo, there's a certain indefinable character in the locals. A wonderful mixture of humility, grit, undenying optimism, and an absolute stubbornness to never give up. And growing up here, I learned to be Buffalo tough at a young age. Whether I was experiencing the blizzard of '77 at age 5, going to Bills games in December, or skiing in sub-zero temperatures every night of the week. That's what gave me grit and confidence, humility and toughness. My favorite and most practical Buffalo tough quality is the fact that we, the inductees, this room, and the city, absolutely never give up. That optimistic outlook always helped me push through the tough times. 4 knee surgeries, a broken back, and years of grueling training and racing far from home. In fact, if people ask me how I was able to live and train in the cold day after day, I had a simple but truthful answer. I'd say, "It's easy, I'm from Buffalo." So thank you for that, Buffalo. And while tonight may be about Buffalo honoring its inductees, it's also about us up here honoring our entire support system, especially our families. And for every one inductee up here, there are hundreds of people in this crowd that made a positive and significant difference in our lives. And every one of you deserves to be honored. In my own family, I'd like to first acknowledge the role my sister Carrie played in my career. My parents may have been the ultimate support system, but my sister was my #1 influence. When we were younger, having a sister that was a few years older and at least a full head taller was great for a few reasons. Besides setting the pace on the hill, and I need to take a break real quick and acknowledge my sister was NCAA giant slalom champion, so let's give her a hand. She could easily put the smack down on me anytime, anywhere. Better than any older brother ever could. But more importantly, she always had my back. She cared for me like a second mother from the time she could pick me up. And throughout my career, when Carrie was in the crowd at a race, I could always hear her cheers and feel her support. I always knew that Carrie was truly my #1 fan. So thank goodness for big sisters. That leaves one major thank you left, my parents, Kent and Marnie. Although there are countless people supporting me, I owe the world to my parents for their unwavering support in my career. Whether I was first, last, middle of the pack, or in the hospital nursing an injury, I always got hugs, kisses, and nothing but positive reinforcement. That's the kind of love and encouragement that kept me going for over 30 years on the Hill. I also owe my parents for teaching me by example to love skiing. My mom and dad were ski instructors, and when I was 2 years old, they taught me to ski on sawed-off rental skis at Glenwood Acres, better known as Kissing Bridge now. To say my parents were just ski instructors is a major understatement. In fact, it all started with my dad's intense passion for skiing. He loved it so much that his nickname in college was Ski. Apparently my mom liked the nickname as well as the sport, and so she let ski teach her how to carve a pretty great turn over the years. And from there began our family adventures that lasted decades, and the fun is still going today. So Mom and Dad, thank you for the thousands of hours teaching us how to ski, the thousands of hours driving us around Western New York, the thousands of hours sitting on the side of a mountain freezing your butts off. There's no way I can sum up my gratitude. I'm here tonight at this incredible event in our hometown because of all the love and support you gave me on my journey. Thanks, Mom and Dad, and thank you, Buffalo. It's truly an honor.
That's yours, not mine, that's yours. Thank you, Eric. And because I know there's a few Bills fans that are sitting out there wondering, yes, it's Eric's cousin Todd that may be the most all-time famous Bills replacement player. It was Todd that kicked the winning field goal to beat the Giants back in 1987. So we've got Schlopies all over Buffalo sports history. Our next inductee is legendary high school coach Larry Veronica.
Consider Larry Veronica's career accomplishments as a high school head coach. Success in 5 sports, 3 All-Americans in 3 different sports, and a 150-4 record as a head track coach. Through it all, he remained humble while keeping the best interests of his student athletes as his top priority. In 1994, when the Buffalo School District could not afford to purchase varsity letters, Coach Veronica used his own funds to make sure his athletes were justly rewarded for their efforts. A star athlete at Cleveland Hill, Larry competed in track and field, cross country, and wrestling at the University at Buffalo, one of the final 3 sport athletes in UB history. He began his coaching career at Bennett High School in 1971. As the basketball coach for the Tigers, Larry posted 303 victories over 25 years, winning 8 Section 6 championships and appearing in 3 state title games. His prized pupils included fellow Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame inductee and All-American Curtis Aiken, Trevor Ruffin, who advanced to play in the NBA, and Vori Billups, a preseason All-American. Larry twice earned Western New York Basketball Coach of the Year kudos. Larry was part of the Bennett football program from 1971 to 1996, both as an assistant and the head mentor. His 1985 Tiger squad were co-champions of the Harvard Cup. That team went undefeated and only allowed 20 points in 9 games. In addition to the sterling record with the men's track team, he also guided the women's team to a 31-1 mark over 4 years. The Bennett men's teams went undefeated over an 18-year span and set several Section 6 records, many of which still stand today. All-American Lamar Smith owns a pair of those standards. 3 of Veronica's runners were invited to the U.S. Olympic trials. Larry also coached tennis for 11 years, where he tutored All-American Ross Nwachukwu, who became the first Western New York player ever to win a medal at the New York State Intersectional Championships. Larry is a member of the Harvard Cup Hall of Fame and the Bennett Sports Hall of Fame. Larry Veronica, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
Sponsoring Larry Veronica is the Empire State Legacy Fund, represented by Leo Kaminsky and Larry's son, Mark. Larry Veronica.
Start talking. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the presentation, and I want to thank the committee, not only for picking me, but for picking me while I'm still in the more or less upright position so I can appreciate it. I was watching that very complimentary video, which I saw for the first time like you. I didn't know it was going to be on there, but as I was watching it, I started thinking, I must admit, that, gee, maybe my mother was right. I don't know. I guess you have to be the son of an Italian mother to appreciate that. Anyway, I did my serious thoughts. I put them down on paper, and you'll see them in the program under the thank you page. I refer you to that. But after this next comment, I'll try not to be serious about anything. I want to dedicate this award to all the great high school coaches out there, both past and present, that had the accomplishment and had the know-how and everything else it took. But for some, the reality of the situation is all of them will never be up here. But they certainly are great enough coaches that they should be. And I just want to say tonight, gentlemen, this award is for you. I'm remembering you. Now, I want to take just a moment of my allotted time. It's ticking down like a time bomb right in front of me. Plus, I got to get this back to Marty's in Williamsville in a hurry. But anyway, I want to take a moment to introduce my family. My lovely wife, Josephine, of 49 years plus, right over here. My son's Mark, also answers to doctor, up here on stage, and his wife, Debbie. My son, Michael, and his wife, Kathleen. My son, Ricky, and my daughter, Marisa Ward, and her husband, Chris, and my sister, Elaine, my only sibling. So thank you for coming. Okay, now I just want to give you a little insight as to some of the stories of what it's like coaching in the city, especially with no assistant coaches in football, one assistant. But for example, we had a football team one year that wasn't very good. We had a lot of problems getting them to do anything at the same time. We could not snap the ball on the count of 2. So one day the head coach and I decided, let's dedicate a practice to this and let's see if we could change this culture a little bit. So we made a big spiel. The coach made a big spiel about going on 2 and paying attention, this and that. And he announced to the whole squad, this play is on 2. You got it? I think I can get all of you to do that. We couldn't get this squad. So anyway, the quarterback comes up to the line, calls the signals, ready, set, hut. And on the first hut, somebody jumped offside, the right tackle. Remember this very well. As soon as he jumped offside, the guy next to him, the right guard, goes over and slaps him in the helmet and calls him a few choice names. Now, I can't repeat what he called them, but in a few short words, he impugned his intelligence, his sexual preference, and a very close relative. So anyway, we go back and we try it again. Coach goes into a spiel again. We call a signal again. Ready, set, hut. Someone else jumps offside. Who was it? The guy that just slapped the other guy in the head. So I turned to Coach Berkman and said, maybe we should just go on 1. That's a pretty good number. Another true story, again, you can't make this stuff up. I can keep you here all night with these stories, by the way. 26 years, 3 sports, there's a lot of stories. March 1st, 1984. Had a good basketball team, maybe the best I ever had. Just came back off winning the Yale Cup. We're in the sectionals. We're playing our crosstown rival, Kensington, a mile and a half away, and we're playing them out in Orchard Park High School. And I always try to drum into the kids, you got to be responsible. You got to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. If I tell you the bus is leaving at a certain time and you're not there, I'll assume you have a ride from a friend or relative and we're going without you. So anyway, we're waiting for everybody to come up. Remember, I got a good team. They lost 1 game in all the Yale Cup season. And when it came time to leave, I gathered everybody on the bus. Their friends are coming and going in the parking lot. So I gathered the team on the bus. I look around, my 2 stars are missing. My 2 co-captains, Vori and Junie. Some of you know who I'm talking about. So I asked the team, I says, where's Vori and Junie? Silence. So I says, well, we're gonna leave. And some kid says, they went to the store. Went to the store? We're about to go to the biggest game in their life. What do you mean they went to the store? Where did they go? No one would talk. Silence, not a peep on that bus. So I says, they got 60 seconds to get here or we're going without them. So I sat down in the front and I'm looking all over hoping they appear from somewhere. 3 minutes later, I stood up and said, their 60 seconds is over. We're going without them. So off the bus goes, down the parking lot out of Bennett High School, turns left on Main Street, heading toward the 198. And in this thank you page, you'll see I had divine help throughout my career. We get down to Main and Fillmore. The light turns yellow and red, the bus stops. I'm sweating. We'll never win this game. Kensington's very good. We'll never beat them without these 2 guys. I'm wondering, what am I going to do? Who's going to play in their place? I turn around, and who's coming out of the store in the corner? If there's a building in Main and Fillmore facing the corner, the door, my 2 stars. A large with cheese and pepperoni. I jumped up and told the bus driver, open this door. He opened the door. I stood with 1 foot on the step, 1 on the street, and I'm hollering at these guys, get on this bus. Do you know how close you came to missing this game? And don't you know a hungry tiger fights best? You don't eat before a game. And I'm up and down them all the way onto the bus and into the back. So finally the bus goes. I got to fast forward now. I didn't even get any pizza, by the way. The bus goes and we get to Orchard Park. We barely got by Kensington. 3 points at halftime, 6-point win. We went on to win the Section 6 title. We beat the Rochester representative. We went to Brockport and played the Syracuse representative, #1 team in the state. Fowler High School, 24 wins, no losses. 6'11" recruit to the Big East, to Providence. Another All-American went somewhere in Missouri, a kid named Curtis Taylor. Anyway, we got lucky somehow and beat them by 9 points. Went on to Glens Falls, beat the public school championship from the east part of the state. Champion, and then we beat the private school champion, Holy Cross from Queens, to win the overall Federation title. 23 or 24 wins and 2 losses for the season. And on the way home on the bus, I'm just thinking back. If that light hadn't turned yellow on Fillmore and Main, this never would have happened. That's the truth. That's absolutely the truth. Just one last thing. Like I said, I got a dozen of these, but I can't do them all. Wrong way, Bruce. Good football player. Good. I'll call him Bruce because that's his name. Bruce was a good tailback for us, a tough little kid. I really liked him, but I noticed in the game, all the players are going right. Bruce is over here. I'm thinking, what the hell is he doing over here? Unless it's a great fake he pulled or something. I watch the next play. All the kids are over here, 11, 10 kids here, one kid. So I says, we'll address this in practice. So the next practice, when we got to the scrimmage toward the end of the practice, I went in the huddle, and I said, we're going to do a sweep right on one. And I turned and looked Bruce right in the face, right here, sweep right on one. Quarterback goes up, hikes the ball, 10 guys go right, Bruce goes left. Now I jump up. Damn you, Bruce, I was right there in the huddle. I looked you right in the eye and I told you to sweep right and you run left. And he shot right back at me. He says, when we were in the huddle, that was the right. So now I figured out it was my fault. I had an open huddle with 10 guys blocking the view of the defense from the quarterback. So I says, huddle up. I said, now turn this huddle around. You 10 guys face the ball. Quarterback, you turn your back to the ball. Now I figure I only got to worry about one guy instead of 10. So that worked out pretty good. Well, anyway, you better get the hook, because once I get started here, I just want to say thank all of you for coming. We appreciate it. This is a great turnout, and congratulations publicly to all my fellow inductees for 2014. If you want to hear some more stories, I'll see you later. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we open the bar, you might get a few more stories out of Larry a little bit later on. Our next inductee in the class of 2014 is University at Buffalo track coach Vicki Mitchell.
One of the most distinguished athletes and international competitors in the Western New York running community, Vicki Mitchell epitomizes all of the qualities of a well-respected college cross-country and track and field coach. She began as a 10-time All-American at Cortland State, where she led the Red Dragons to an NCAA Division III national championship in cross-country and track and field, followed by appearances on 5 USA national teams. Following her international running career, Mitchell's passion for her sport led her to coaching. A Western New York native, Mitchell started her illustrious coaching career at Holy Angels Academy, where she spent 5 seasons before moving on to become the assistant coach of the cross-country and track and field programs at William Jewell College in Kansas City. Her deep Western New York roots eventually brought her back to the area as the head coach of the University at Buffalo cross-country and track and field programs more than 15 years ago. Her time at the University at Buffalo has been highlighted by All-Americans and school records each season. Mitchell helped lead the UB women's track and field squad to their highest team placing in school history, 3rd place, at the 2013 Mid-American Conference Outdoor Championships. She also led the women to their highest team placing in program history when they captured 4th place at the 2014 Indoor MAC Championships. The Western New York Running Hall of Fame inductee also helped bring the 2011 NCAA Northeast Cross Country Championships to Western New York for the first time ever. Respected by her peers for countless years of service to the Western New York running landscape, Vicki Mitchell leaves an unforgettable mark on our community and, more importantly, on all the athletes she has impacted during her illustrious career. Vicki Mitchell, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
Sponsoring Vicki Mitchell is the University at Buffalo and UB Athletics, represented by Athletic Director Danny White.
Good evening, and thank you, Paul. I share this honor with my family and friends, and I'm grateful and humbled to have many of them here tonight as part of this celebration. In particular, I would like to recognize my parents, Dick and Lisa Mitchell, who have supported me, encouraged me, and pushed me when needed. I would like to thank the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame GBSHOF14, and the selection committee. And a special thanks to my host, Mr. John Lambert, for his countless hours and efforts in coordinating tonight. Thank you to my sponsor, the University at Buffalo, Mr. Danny White, and congratulations to the other inductees this evening. It's hard to put into words what tonight means to me. Growing up, I was a relatively athletic kid. With two older brothers that constantly picked on me, running was really a matter of survival. So thank you, Dave and Scott, for fostering my running career. I was not much of a standout high school athlete, but I was fortunate to have wonderful coaches and teachers who encouraged me and developed me in all different areas, not just athletics. In college, I more or less fell into running. The family joke was that my coach's name was Jack Daniels, and the fact that I had no idea that Jack Daniels was a whiskey said a lot about my sheltered life. But it was in college that I began to see success in running. This bred an excitement about training and competition and developed self-confidence. It was my coaches and teammates who taught me that athletics was more about winning national championships. It was about discipline, perseverance, resiliency, friendship, and development of values. Judy Sparks Arlington, who's here tonight, pushed me from a scared little freshman girl to a 7-time national champion. Running has given me incredible experiences, travel around the world, and lifelong friendships. It did not take long after college to realize that this incredible world of sports had really molded me and that my career needed to be in coaching. As I was transitioning out of competitive running, a very good friend told me, "Vic, you'll impact more people as a coach than you will as a runner." Bridget Nyland, thank you. You may not know it, but that ignited my coaching career. Coaching is really a unique profession. And a coach has an opportunity to positively develop a person, improve athletic ability, support academic development, and most importantly, to impact life at a critical time of self-development. My former coach always said there were 4 ingredients to success in both athletics and life. The first ingredient is inherent ability or genetic ability. You have a certain amount of gifts given to you at birth, and it's really up to you to make use of them as you wish. The second ingredient is motivation. This comes from within. You must use your God-given talents. Those with motivation are more likely to see success than those without motivation. Although I was shy and reserved, I was driven and focused. A blizzard could not have stood in the way of me finishing an interval workout or pushing the limits in a race. The third ingredient to success is the opportunity. This includes many different factors, including your environment, your family, the right school that you choose to go to, having the right competition. In my career, both in running and coaching, the key ingredient has been the opportunities provided to me. Being at the right place at the right time. Selecting a college with the best distance coach in the USA. Having Holy Angels offer me a position really because my brother was teaching there already. Getting a call from USA Track and Field being told that I'd been selected for a national team. Being given the opportunity to coach at New York's premier university. Opportunity is really what you make of it. The last ingredient is the direction. This is the coaching or the teaching or the parenting for those that are parents. This, of all the ingredients, is the only one that can really have a positive or potentially negative influence. As a coach, we must attend to the best interests of our student athletes, but we must also be able to manage the individuals collectively as a group and help them grow as a team. This is a really scary responsibility, but it's one that I value and honor every day. The lesson that my parents taught me early on was to give back for the blessings that you've been given. I have been fortunate to have continuous support throughout my running and coaching career. I've been in the right place at the right time on more than one occasion. And I hope through coaching, I can make a small positive impact on my students as my coaches and teachers have on me. Whether it be with young kids in elementary school, in high school and competitive collegiate athletics, or for adults who are experiencing fitness for the first time through sports, I truly believe that athletics makes us all better. We've heard the saying that it takes a village. I would simply like to say thank you to the village that has been instrumental in developing me as a runner, teacher, coach, and person. Thank you.
Our next inductee is yachting and sailing great Skip Doyle.
Doyle started sailing with his father in the 1930s on both Lake Erie and Ontario. Through 6 more decades, Skip honed his skills and became one of the winningest skippers on Lake Ontario and for the Youngstown Yacht Club. His early racing was in one-design sailboats where no handicapping was used. This places an emphasis on consistency, competitiveness, and camaraderie, 3 qualities that have defined Skip Doyle's sailboat racing career. Early in Skip's racing career, he sailed in the then Olympic class of 6 meters, a boat with 5 crew members raced by the best sailors in Europe and won many of the major trophies. In Chicago in 1981, Skip won the de facto championship of the Great Lakes in match racing called the Richardson Cup. His crew consisted of his 3 sons and others from the Youngstown Yacht Club. One of his most prominent victories, it earned him the John F. Barnes Award from Canisius High School. Skip has been an ambassador for Buffalo, traveling to Bermuda, Florida, New Orleans, Toronto, and throughout the Great Lakes. He is past Commodore of the Niagara-on-the-Lake Sailing Club, past president of the Lake Yacht Racing Association, 6 Meter Association, CNC 29 Association, and South Shore Yacht Racing Association. He's an honorary member of the Youngstown Yacht Club and has a trophy named in his honor, the Skip Doyle Trophy, awarded to sailors who have demonstrated excellence in sailing. Skip is best remembered as a relentless competitor who hosted great post-race debriefs. These debriefs would include the highlights and lowlights of the day. Spirits were always high at the dock after a long day of racing, no matter what the result. In the Corinthian sport of sailboat racing, Skip Doyle was humorous, helpful, and humble. Skip Doyle, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
Sponsoring Skip Doyle is Town BMW, RCR Yachts, and the Youngstown Yacht Club, represented by Skip's granddaughters, Molly and Lucy Doyle. Everyone, Skip Doyle.
Okay, the reason I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame is because I've won a bunch of sailboat races over a bunch of years. I want to tell you a little bit about myself and offer 3 stories that exemplify why I love sailing. It's all about the places you go and the people you meet. I started crewing on racing sailboats when I was in high school. Since then, I've owned and raced 6 different boats over a period that spans 7 decades. From the 1950s to the 2nd decade of the 21st century. The first 3 boats I owned were in classes that were raced by in the Olympics and therefore attracted a lot of the best sailors, many of whom I competed against. My stories focus on these earlier years of my sailing career. Story 1. From 1948 to 1972, the Dragon class sailboat was used in the Olympic competition and it attracted a lot of the best sailors. During the 60s, I owned and campaigned a Dragon called Hound. One year, the Dragon World Championship was held in Toronto at the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, and I raced against boats from all around the world. Like many of the boats, the team from Greece had the same crew that raced the boat in the Olympics. The Greek skipper was a good-looking guy named King Constantine. King wasn't his first name, that was his title. He was, in fact, the King of Greece. If it were not for sailing, a paint peddler from Buffalo like me would never have ended up at the Royal Canadian Yacht Club, smoking excellent Cuban cigars, drinking the finest cognac with the King of Greece. It's all about the places you go and the people you meet. My next story is John Foster Dulles donated a trophy to the Dragon class. Those of you who have been around will recall that Mr. Dulles was Secretary of State under President Eisenhower. Anyway, one year the competition for the Dulles Trophy was at my home club, Youngstown, and Mr. Dulles came to hand out the awards. After the awards ceremony, a fellow came up to me and said, "Hi, Skip. I'm Bob Ryder from Cleveland. I've been racing against you for the last 3 days and have determined that you are the better sailor, but that I have the better, faster boat." It would have been rude of me to disagree with him. Bob continued, "I have a proposition for you. I'll get myself and my fast boat to Major Dragon Regattas. You get yourself there, you drive the boat, I'll crew for you, and we'll see how we do." That was an incredible offer, and it would have been rude for me to say no, so I said, okay. A couple of months later, Bob called and says, "There's a big-time regatta in October in New Orleans. Let's go." Again, it would have been rude for me not to accept his offer. So Bob got his boat to New Orleans, got himself and his boat to New Orleans. We did okay on the race course, but we were hands down winners on Bourbon Street 3 nights in a row. The drinking, the jazz, the dancing in the streets, the whole 9 yards. Bourbon Street in the 1960s was a feast for all the senses, and I would have never experienced that if it had not been for sailing. It's all about the places you go and the people you meet. Hey, I got a couple more minutes. Fast forward a couple of months and Bob calls again. "Let's do Bermuda Race Week in April." And being a polite guy, I accepted again. At that time, Bermuda Race Week was a huge deal with sailors and boats from all over the world. But the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club was not what you would call progressive, so women were excluded from the club's bar. Bob and I were traveling with our wives, and after racing, we would head up into town and enjoy cocktails with them. One such night, we identified a likely-looking pub and went in. There were several other sailors in the bar, but Bob and I were accompanied by the best 2 looking women in the place. So I wasn't surprised when this one smooth-talking Southern gentleman sailor motioned us to come over and join him at his table. Had it not been for sailing, I would never have ended up drinking rum in a bar in Hamilton, Bermuda, with Ted Turner, owner of the Atlanta Braves and CNN, winner of the America's Cup, and ex-husband of Jane Fonda. It's all about the places you go and the people you meet. Story 3 predates the other stories and goes back to when I owned a 6-meter class boat called Firecracker. I was racing the Firecracker at a regatta at the Rochester Yacht Club, and I was at the bar when this nice-looking girl came in. I chatted her up a bit, and she seemed to me to be the most amazing person I'd ever met. Her name at the time was Edie Cross, but a couple years later, her name became Edie Doyle. A few years after that, we had 3 sons. Several years after that, they got married and gave us 7 grandchildren. Had it not been for sailing, there would be no Doyles, including me, here tonight. Like I said, it's all about the places you go and the people you meet. Thank you very much.
D is Buffalo Bills Wall of Famer Jim Richer.
Jim Richer was born and raised in suburban Cleveland, developed into an all-state player, and dreamed of playing for his beloved Ohio State Buckeyes. However, North Carolina State coach Lou Holtz recruited him to play defensive end for the Wolfpack, but before Jim arrived on campus, Coach Holtz resigned to take over the New York Jets. Enter Bo Ryan, the new coach at North Carolina State. Coach Ryan needed quick, mobile offensive linemen in his new offensive system called the Veer, and he asked the disappointed Richard to move to the offensive line, explaining he'd have a better chance of playing right away. Jim agreed to try it, a decision that would ultimately define his career. With Jim playing center for 3 of his seasons, running back Ted Brown went on to rush for 4,602 yards, an ACC record that stands to this day. In 1979, the Wolfpack won the ACC with a 5-1 record, and Richer won the Outland Trophy, giving to the country's best interior lineman the first center to ever win the award. He was also a consensus first-team All-American. The Buffalo Bills made Jim the 16th overall choice in the 1980 draft. After 1 season at center, Richer was moved to guard, which better utilized his speed and quickness. He became a fixture in the Bills lineup and did not miss a start from 1983 to 1993. Richer was named All-Pro in 1991 and All-AFC in 1990, played in 2 Pro Bowls and started 4 Super Bowls with the Bills. His name was placed on the Bills' Wall of Fame in 2004. He finished his 16-year NFL career playing 2 seasons with the Atlanta Falcons. After retiring from football, Jim went on to a second career as a commercial pilot and continues to fly as a captain for American Airlines. All 3 of Jim's sons are currently involved in football. John is currently a scout for the Arizona Cardinals. Harrison is in the personnel department with the Cleveland Browns, and Nicholas plays for the University of Richmond. Jim Richer, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
I'm not sure we can top actually being on stage with Bob Hope, but we'll give it our best try. Jim's induction is being sponsored by the Buffalo Bills, represented by Jim's son, John Richer. I give you Jim Richer.
I was standing up here a little earlier, and Paul asked me, he said, "You're an offensive lineman. You even know what one of these things are for, this microphone up here?" I said, at first I was insulted, but then I thought about it. I said, well, no, I really don't know how to use it. So I'm going to stand here and try to make a little sense in front of you. First of all, I'd like to thank the members of the Greater Buffalo Hall of Fame for allowing me to be part of this ceremony here. And I'd like to thank or congratulate all the other inductees here. And as just say, meeting you and your families has been an honor in itself. Where would you rather be than right here, right now? And that is something Coach Levy would ask us before big games. Tonight, that question again comes to mind, but I have to admit, because of my anxiety about public speaking, anywhere but right here, right now would be good. Uncomfortable as I am grateful for the chance to share a few things. I'd like to thank Kim and Terry Pagula, I always have trouble with that name, for their commitment in keeping the Bills in Buffalo. I think we are all relieved and thankful for that commitment. To my family and friends, your love and friendship is truly a gift, and like so many other blessings, it's completely undeserved. Thank you for your patience with me. Your presence and your sharing this evening with me is deeply appreciated. In my humble opinion, getting recognition from an organization in Greater Buffalo area regarding sports is something very special. Buffalo is one of those unique places that can honestly be called a sports town. What impresses me about fans in Buffalo is not only their faithful support, but also their knowledge and understanding of those sports. This made being considered for this honor, let alone named, all the more surprising and meaningful. Being part of the Bills organization brought many great experiences and allowed me to meet many wonderful people. Many of the people I worked with never wore a Bills jersey, but were key in any success we had. Many of them deserving of Hall of Fame recognition for their roles done silently and without fanfare. The hard work done by our trainers, equipment managers, and those in the player development and the administrative offices made possible many memorable seasons. The Super Bowl years were certainly some of those memorable seasons. Included in that was the Houston Wildcard game. But even before those games, there was the 1980 season, which was also unforgettable. There's not enough time to fully explain why, but I will say this. In the first game of my first season, we beat Miami for the first time in 10 years. A win after 20 straight losses found the fans in what was then Rich Stadium going absolutely crazy. The 80,000 people that were in the stands now took over the field. We couldn't move, let alone get to the locker room. In the excitement, backslaps started becoming bigger hits than on the kickoff team. Goalposts, of course, were gone, large portions of them thrown off the back of the upper deck. Nearly a third of the AstroTurf disappeared. The rest of the year, it looked like we were playing on a patchwork quilt. Saying I was overwhelmed is an understatement. We were now 1-0. It made a great first impression. I knew I was playing where fans were passionate about their team. I think we certainly would have gone to the Super Bowl that year if Joe Ferguson didn't have to play injured in the San Diego playoff game. So many great memories and experiences right from the very start. Many of the things I learned and experienced during those years I've tried to pass on to my sons and now to my grandchildren. Limited as I might be athletically, I am more interested in them developing the type of character I had witnessed in some of our coaches and players. I want them believing in things such as teamwork, good sportsmanship, perseverance, humility, and preparedness. Important characteristics whether or not they ever played or play a sport. If given a choice between whether my sons and grandchildren grow up to be great athletes or good citizens, I'd choose good citizens. The world has plenty of talented athletes, but the world can always use more good citizens. I'll finish with this. Of all the memorable experiences I had during my time as a Buffalo Bill, one clearly stands out. After years of meetings, Bible studies, and chapel services, Gene Barrett, our former team chaplain, asked what I was going to do with what I had learned about Jesus Christ. That night, with Gene's help, I prayed to receive him. Looking back some 30 years later, I can see that it was, without a doubt, the greatest, most significant event of my life. As much as I loved playing football and enjoyed calling myself a Buffalo Bill and all the great things that brought, I can say with confidence that knowing Jesus is far greater. If my sons and grandchildren understand only this from my time in the NFL, I will be eternally grateful. My prayer for my family and my friends, which I would like to think includes each one of you, is that if you don't know Jesus, you would seek him out. He says, ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. I pray that you'll take him up on that. Thank you again, family and friends, for being here, and the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame for allowing me this moment. God bless you all.
You know, Jim, the next time you're on one of those long flights over there to Europe and you got the thing on autopilot, do a little practicing for me. Pagula. Because there's a good chance the next time you come back here, this might be the Greater Pagulaville Sports Hall of Fame. So work on that for me, will you? I think you've done all offensive linemen proud. You handled yourself very well in front of a microphone. Good job, Jim. Our next inductee is St. Joe's and St. Bonaventure great Dale T-Pass.
Dale T-Pass is one of the greatest and most versatile high school athletes in Western New York history, an assertion borne out by a brief look at his accomplishments. At St. Joe's Collegiate Institute, Dale was the high jump champion and was named All-Catholic in track and field in his junior year, then earned All-Catholic honors in football as a senior, the only year he played. Dale played varsity baseball for the Marauders. As a freshman, he recorded 7 wins as a starting pitcher. He led the league in home runs in his junior and senior seasons. In his final year as the team captain, he was named All-Catholic for his performance as a first baseman, outfielder, and pitcher. For 3 seasons, Dale was a key component of the St. Joe's varsity basketball program. In 62 games, he scored over 1,200 points. As a junior, he averaged 22.7 points per game, which led the league, and in his senior year, he averaged 24 points per game. T-Pass helped lead the Marauders to a Manhattan Cup championship and was named the MVP of the playoffs. Continuing his basketball career at St. Bonaventure University, he was a starter in his sophomore and senior years. And despite an injury in his junior year, he played a key role in the team's trip to the Final Four. As a senior, he averaged 13 points per game and again was instrumental in the squad's postseason success, a third-place finish in the NIT. Outside of the scholastic sports arena, T-Pass also excelled on local baseball diamonds, playing baseball in the American Legion, AAA-BA, and AAA Muni Leagues. He was the winning pitcher in the 1967 AAA-BA championship game and played in the national AAA-BA tournament that same year. T-Pass, a current resident of Canandaigua, New York, has been highly recognized for his exceptional performance in the athletic arena. He was inducted into the inaugural St. Joe's Hall of Fame class in 1994 and into the Western New York Baseball Hall of Fame in 2006. The Buffalo News named him to the first team All-60s basketball quintet, along with Bob Lanier, Tony Masiello, George Carter, and Marty Cott. Dale T-Pass, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
Sponsoring Dale T-Pass is St. Joseph's Collegiate Institute, represented by Bill and Dennis T-Pass and Bob Scott. I present to you Dale T-Pass.
Oh boy, it's a little overwhelming. First, I want to thank the Board of Directors for the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, and in particular the Selection Committee for deeming that my accomplishments were worthy of this great Hall of Fame. I want to thank or congratulate my fellow inductees. It's an honor to be going in with such a diversified group. A special thanks to my host tonight, who I've known for years, Benji Blumen. You've made this whole thing very easy for me, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. And special thanks also to Bob Scott and St. Joseph's Collegiate Institute for sponsoring me tonight. I'd like to also thank my good friend Bill Scott, who years ago submitted my application for this Hall of Fame. It's all come to fruition, Bill. Thank you. I'd like to take a moment to introduce my family. First of all, my wife, Noreen, who's put up with my antics for 38 years. My children, Kyle and his girlfriend Amy, and my daughter Lindsay and her husband Vinny. I know you guys came from a long distance to be here, and it means a lot to me to be here, and hopefully you're enjoying the evening as much as I am. My two brothers are up here. I'm fortunate to have such brothers. God bless me when I have these two brothers to go through my life with. So thank you guys for being here. You know, there's coaches that do a lot for you, and Larry, I know you spoke about coaching, and coaches that helped me a lot, not only on the athletic field, but in life. I just want to touch on a couple of them. First of all, my dad. My dad was my baseball coach forever when I was a young boy. He would take my brothers and I out to the diamond behind our house, and he'd pitch to us for hours. We must have practiced hundreds of hours back there. I don't know how he ever had an arm because it should have fallen off. But he was so instrumental in making me a good baseball player, taught us everything about the game that we know. Secondly, my high school basketball coach, Bob Miller. Bob was a terrific coach, really worked with us on fundamentals and really took my game to the next level and really pushed me to be a good basketball player, better than I ever thought I could be. Third would be my college coach, Larry Wiese. Larry recruited me to play at Bonaventure. I was fortunate to play with some of the greatest teams in Bonaventure history. I'll give you just one brief story. One of them's in the book that you may have read. The other one is I'm going to tell you now. I was a sophomore, and it's early in the season, and I played a little bit, but we're playing against Providence, and I really hadn't played against the quality of teams in Providence that were at Providence. And I'm sitting on the bench between Mike Cull and Paul Grice, all Buffalo guys, and we're watching the game. It's early. It's probably about 8-9 minutes into the game, and we're paying attention, and I get an elbow from Mike Cull, and Mike goes, I said to Mike, what are you doing? He said, Dale, he said, the coach wants you. And I said, for what? He goes, I think he wants you to go in. I said, no. I said, yeah. So I go in, and I'm a sophomore, and you don't want to make mistakes, or else you're coming right out. So I try not to make any mistakes, and it's halftime, and we're down 6 or 8. The coach is going over the whole thing, and here's what we're going to do the second half. And he grabs me as we're walking out. He said, Dale, I didn't put you in there to pass the ball and watch what's going on. I put you in there to shoot. Well, let me tell you, Larry Wiese never had to ask me to shoot again. And the last person I want to touch base on is Joe Wolf. Joe's in his Hall of Fame, as well as Coach Wiese is. Joe was such a mentor to not only myself, but Joe, I really want to thank you for the thousands of young men that you mentored that went through St. Joe's during your 40-plus years at St. Joe's. Thank you very much. You met my immediate family. I want to introduce you quickly to my 4 other families. I'll call them my 4 other families. One, my St. Joe's family. All the guys that I played sports with at St. Joe's, a lot of them are here tonight. A lot of my basketball guys are here, football guys, track guys, etc. And all the classmates that I had at St. Joe's. I really want to thank you for all the support you've given me, not only tonight, but throughout my career. Then there's my Bonaventure family, all the student body at Bonaventure who really supported us and our teams throughout our 4 years there. And in particular, I want to thank my classmates and my teammates that are here tonight, Jim Sallin, Mike Cull, Paul Hoffman, and Greg Gary. These are the greatest, some of the greatest guys that ever played at St. Bonaventure, and I want to thank you all for being here to support me. As you heard on there, I played a lot of summer baseball. Most of the time I played 7 days a week when I was in high school in the early years, and it took up a lot of time. So from summer baseball, I went to slow pitch softball and JFK football. I met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guys. A lot of them are here tonight. I've had a chance to see some of them. I want to thank you all for that. It was the greatest times of my life playing in the summer here. And then finally, my newest family is my golf family. And a lot of them are here tonight. Some of my guys from Canandaigua were here. I want to thank you guys for coming and supporting me tonight. But mostly I want you to remember one thing. I'm leaving for Florida on Monday. I'm going to work on my game, and I want to get some of your money next spring. Lastly, I just want to touch base on the two most important people in my life, my mom and dad. They're not here tonight, but I'm sure they're watching. They provided the guidance, the love, the support, and direction that allowed myself and my brothers to not only succeed on the athletic field, but in life. I would thank them very much. Then we miss them. And finally, I want to thank all of you for being here, for supporting the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, for the work that they do for the local community, in the Buffalo area. And thank you for making this one of the greatest nights in my life. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee into the 2014 Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame is longtime Sabres trainer and equipment man, Rip Simonik.
Buffalo native Robert Rip Simonik is a living history of hockey in Buffalo. His career started in 1964 when he and his brother Paul went to work as stick boys for the Buffalo Bisons of the American Hockey League. In 1970, Punch Imlach hired Rip to join the newly formed Buffalo Sabres equipment staff, running errands and doing grunt work for legendary trainer Frank Christie. Rip quickly worked his way up to equipment manager, and over the past 44 years, no one in the Sabres organization has had a greater influence on the hundreds of players that have worn a Sabres sweater than Rip Simonik. He is the last original Sabres employee, and his far-reaching impact has been felt both on and off the ice in Buffalo and throughout the NHL. In the locker room, Simonik took great care in knowing the preferences and habits of each of his players. When Pat LaFontaine suffered a broken jaw, it was Simonik who designed the protective shield that would allow him to return to the ice. Together with Dominik Hasek, Simonik pioneered the skate-sharpening parameters for goalies that are still used throughout the NHL today. Off the ice, Simonik is most commonly described by those that know him as a father figure to his players and one of the single most important people in the Sabres organization. Players from every era have described him as someone they could talk to, someone who made them feel comfortable, and someone who helped make their transition to the NHL easier. To this day, you can find Rip Simonik toiling away behind the scenes in the Sabres locker room and on the bench. He is the longest tenured equipment manager in the NHL and has worked over 3,400 games. He has served on staff for 3 NHL All-Star games, 2 Stanley Cup Finals, and is a member of the Buffalo Sabres Hall of Fame. He is revered among Sabres players past and present as the unsung hero that has kept the team together through the years. Rip Simonik, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
Sponsoring Rip Simonic's induction, of course, are the Buffalo Sabres. They are well represented here, including head coach Ted Nolan. And representing the Sabres here is Rob Ray. I present to you Rip Simonic.
Let's get the formalities out of the way. Thank you very much for the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame Committee for giving me this honor. Congratulations to my fellow members of the class of 2014. And thank you for Rob Ray for giving me my ring. Little story about Robbie. We played in Philadelphia, and Robbie unfortunately had the chore of scrapping with Dave Brown. He TKO'd him in Philadelphia. He became the heavyweight champion of the National Hockey League, which comes with a lot of responsibilities. He came to the bench and said, "Oh, F-bomb. I beat him." So that's why Robbie Ray is a great guy, and Ray's has carried this responsibility on and off the ice. He's helped numerous people in need in charities. Even though he wasn't born in Buffalo, he makes me proud to be a Buffalonian. I would like to thank my family and friends for all of their love and support. Even when I was just a guy from the old First Ward, before working in hockey, there was a woman named Mays, my wife. She was a much greater hockey person than I will ever be. We fortunately went to 2 Stanley Cup Finals and 4 All-Star appearances. I had the opportunity for Mays to be at all of these games. She came from a great hockey family. Her brother, E.J. McGuire, was an assistant coach in the National Hockey League and became the director of Central Scouting. I had a lot of enjoyment when we played EJ's teams. I had more enjoyment when we beat his teams. And when he beat us, then EJ was in trouble with Mace. The long journey, I could never foresee. This started out with me having fun as a kid with the Buffalo Bison's hockey team. I came home from school or sports and went to the yard. If there was no school, I just went to the yard with my mother and father's permission, who backed me all the way. I got my start with the Bisons, getting coffee for the team at the White Tower on Main Street. Thank goodness there was no coffee machines or I wouldn't be here today. When I would get the coffee and go to the rink, I'd get the team ready for practice or a game and finish by cleaning the locker room. I was told by legendary trainer and Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame member Frank Christie, keep your mouth shut and your eyes open, as he smoked a cigarette and drank coffee while I was running the locker room. He did all the talking. I am fortunate to have great owners throughout my career, starting with the Bison's owners, the Pastor brothers, then the Sabres, Knox family, Regas family, Tom Golisano, Larry Quinn, and now the Pegula family. I've been with the Sabres all the years, even though we haven't won a Stanley Cup yet. We can be proud of the accomplishments and the great people who have worked for the team. Every moment I work with this team reflects my respect for the people I worked with. I was fortunate to work with great people with the Sabres: management, coaches, players, equipment staff, medical staff, office workers. One of the great guys I've worked with for over 40 years is fellow Buffalo Sports Hall of Famer Rick Jenneret, who couldn't be here tonight. Rick has been an ambassador for the team for many years with his legendary calls. La 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 Fontaine, Mayday, Mayday. These guys are good, scary good. Well, we had that same feeling in 1995. Rick and I have been through it all, including a pretty successful start. When you know you're going to have a good team, you just hope you're good enough. In the 5th year in the league, the Sabres went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Broad Street Bullies. Led by our 2 best lines, the French Connection, Luce Ramsey and Gare, it just wasn't meant to be. Our goalies got injured, and their goalie, Bernie Perron, stood on his head. I can't talk about the beginning of the team without mentioning the great Gilbert Perreault, who was here tonight. One of Gilbert's great plays Gilbert had carried the puck end to end, tackled by 3 LA Kings, scored, came to the bench, pumping his fist, saying, "This is Hollywood, isn't it?" There's one thing I have in common with Scotty Bowman. He would tell me, your job is to eliminate all the crutches in the locker room. It eliminates all things as an excuse. And I have something in common with Scotty as a coach. I coach a team from Cavs Rink with a bunch of kids from the old First Ward in South Buffalo. Brother-in-law E.J. McGuire, Pat Ford, Tom Noonan, Jack Hofstetter, Brian Cavanaugh. I coached 1 year, won a championship, and I retired. I went out a winner, just like Scotty did. But the kids played on. My infamous wife, Maisie, drove these kids to practice every weekend at 5 a.m., never missed a game or practice. Later, we got married. As a honeymoon gift, I took her to the Sabres games in California. At least, to the sad time of my life was in 2011. That was my low point. My wife, Maisie, her brother, EJ, and her parents had all passed away. It was a hard time, but I got through it. And one bright spot in the year 2011, February 22nd, Terry and Kim Pergula bought the Sabres. The team is looking to get back to winning ways under the leadership of the Pergula family, Coach Ted Sater and Tim Murray. The dream lives on. Every moment I have with the team reflects my respect for the people I've been associated with. These people have been great to me, and I'm a Sabre. Once you're a Sabre, you're always a Sabre, every day, all the time, on and off the ice, as a person and a player. Special thanks to my family, friends, my sister Dorothy, my brother Paul, brother Gene, brother Joe, my nieces Carol, Joanne, the McGuires, EJ's family, the Hofstetters, the Cochlins, and the Heidingers. All of me loves all of you.
Our 8th inductee of the night is sportscaster Ed Kilgore.
When Ed Kilgore took the weekend sports anchor seat at WGR-TV in 1973, Buffalo's professional sports teams were emerging on the national sports scene. The Sabres and Braves were in their 4th season as expansion teams, and the Bills finished a respectable 2nd in the NFL's AFC East Division. As an anchor, Kilgore covered professional, collegiate, and high school sports with equal enthusiasm for 4 decades, reporting the good, the bad, and the controversial. Born and raised in Oregon, Kilgore attended high school in Macon, Missouri, and continued his education at the University of Missouri on a partial baseball scholarship. After graduating with a journalism degree, Kilgore landed positions with the NBC affiliate in San Antonio in 1970 and with the Houston ABC affiliate in 1972. He came to Buffalo in 1973 as a weekend sports anchor and host of Bowling for Dollars, and a year later became the sports director. During his tenure at Channel 2, Kilgore hosted the Lou Saban and Chuck Knox shows, the Sabres TV broadcasts, and the Jim Kelly Show. In 1993, his 3-part series on sports memorabilia collecting earned Kilgore a New York Emmy for Best Sports Reporting and several AP and UPI Sports Reporting awards. While he often chronicled the struggles of athletes, he was equally committed to the struggles of young people fighting drug and alcohol addictions and has helped raise funds for kids escaping drugs for over 20 years. In 2010, at age 62, Kilgore organized a successful expedition to Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, reaching the 19,000-foot summit and raising more than $40,000 for kids escaping drugs. Inducted into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame in 2010, Kilgore authored his first book, As I've Seen It, Wide Right, No Goal, and Other Buffalo Sports Sagas, taking readers behind the scenes with the Buffalo Bills, Sabres, Bisons, and Braves. Ed Kilgore, forever enshrined in the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame.
Sponsoring Ed Kilgore are East Resources and WGRZ TV Channel 2, represented by John Beard. Ed, I got a little bad news for you, Ed. I got a little bad news for you, Ed. We're running a little long, and we got to get to weather, so we're cutting you down to 2 minutes.
Kevin, it's a wrap. Okay?
No, this is the one time when there isn't anybody going to cut you off. The microphone is yours.
Cool. That's great. Wow. You know, first of all, it's great to see such a huge crowd here because, kind of like everything in Buffalo, this is getting bigger and better. This is bigger than it's ever been for the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame. And it's just a little bit symbolic of what's going on in Buffalo, isn't it, Therese? It really is. So congratulations to the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame for getting bigger and better. To all the volunteers, to New Era, which is really, they put their investment downtown before it became fashionable to do so. It's a great honor to be up here, inducted into this great class. I've known some of the people a long time, Larry Veronica, and of course Jim Richer, and Ripper, and I also learned some things tonight. I thought it was interesting. Eric Slope, is your brother Todd here by any chance? Is he here or not? He's not, okay. Well, anyway, that story that Paul brought up about Todd Slope kicking that field goal in the replacement game, quick story here, that might have been the worst professional football game. In fact, it was the worst professional football game ever played. It was 3-3 at the end of regulation on a rainy, miserable, horrible night. Lawrence Taylor had crossed the picket line and was playing for the Giants, and he was literally unstoppable, and he kept lining up over center, and the Bills had a guy named Will Grant, who was quite a character, and Will was playing center, and he kept coming over Will, and after the game, I was interviewing Will, and I said, Will, you won the game, but kind of a tough night. I said, you were called for holding 8 times. And he said, and I said, so, but you've got this big smile. And he said, yeah, but he says, I held him about 20 times. He just only got caught the 7 times. But there are so many stories, and as Murph mentioned in that little voiceover there, I did write a book, and down there, Ripper's got it. Ripper's got the only copy that's probably available now anywhere. So if you if you want to get it, it is available at buffalobooks.com if you want to go get it, and there are many copies still available. I came to Buffalo in 1973 from Houston, and at that time Houston was about the 14th market. Buffalo was about 22, but a lot of great things were happening in Buffalo. Rich Stadium was then built, Channel 2 was just built, the Bills were good, the Sabres had the French Connection, and I see it's great to see Bert here tonight along with a lot of other Sabres for Rip. And we had the Buffalo Braves with Ernie D and all of those great NBA players. So Buffalo was really a happening place. Then we had kind of some ups and downs, but during my career at Channel 2, we had 4 Super Bowls, and I was doing the Jim Kelly show then, which was a lot of fun. I covered a couple of Olympics, 2 Stanley Cup finals. So it was really, Buffalo just now is starting to get back, and it's really the place to be right now for many reasons. Now, I have to be honest, I've been away from Channel 2 now for a year and a half, and I must admit I don't miss the pressure of the daily deadlines at all. There are a lot of things about it that I really don't miss. And part of that is just as you age, your priorities change a little bit, but I miss the people. I miss the people a lot. And it is really gratifying to me to see a bunch of my old Channel 2 teammates over here. Mary Alice Dimler, I see waving. Adam Manini, who's doing so capably, filling, as he jumped in there for me. John Beard, who's right back here. I could go on all night about some Beard stories, but I'll pass those over. But he's been a great friend for many. He was my best man. then went out to L.A., and of course Kevin O'Connell went out to L.A., and Kevin and Carolyn are here tonight. And then they came back, and Kevin and John and I still get together a lot and laugh. We laugh a lot. Trust me, if you have friends that make you laugh, keep them. They're worth everything. Also, Scott Levin down there, I see. Jim Toller, President, General Manager, is here. Jim Woodard, Woody as we call him, our news director. Andy DeSantis, who down at Super Bowl, the first one, Super Bowl 25 in Tampa. Andy, can you just raise your hand? Are you still there? Yeah, you haven't nodded off yet? Andy and I, Channel 2 sent 2 people down there, me and Andy, and they almost didn't send us. We went in to argue, hey, we only have 2 people, and they said, well, we don't have to send you. Channel 4 and Channel 7 both had small armies down there, and Andy and I, one night in an editing truck, we almost got into a fist fight, but luckily we didn't. It was kind of close quarters there for that week, but it was a wonderful experience. And also I see Steve Brown there. Steve, can you raise your... Steve Brown, this goes back, seeing Sister Maria, Sister Perry's up here reminded me of this. 30 years ago, we used to play pickup basketball games at Canisius, and Steve could dunk back then. He really could. And I remember the first time I met Sister Maria, I had driven around somebody and threw up a layup, and I heard this voice go, Kilgore! And I turned around, and it was Sister Maria, and she said, when you go in on the left, go up with the left hand. That was Sister Maria. So that's how she's just been an institution here in Buffalo for many years. I left Channel 2 a year and a half ago, as I mentioned, for quite a career change. And I now work for Terry Pagula in the energy business. And I'd like to take the rest of this time to talk about that, but I won't. Oh, we could have some fun, couldn't we? But my thanks certainly to Terry and Kim for their commitment to Buffalo, and as so many of us have noticed and seeing a lot of the Sabres down here, they know exactly what I'm meaning. We're in very, very good hands right now. One of the things about working for Terry now is that I have an office actually in Pittsburgh, but I work out of home, and so I have a lot more free time. Now that's a great thing for me, not such a good thing for my lovely wife, Debbie. Debbie, can you, where's Deb? She hasn't left yet, as you know, she's still there. That's good. Debbie, a former Miss Buffalo and the love of my life, we've been very happily married for 28 years, and as our daughter Shannon would tell you, she's the talent in our house. Many of you have probably heard her do a lot of Sabres national anthems and Bills national anthems, and also does great volunteer charity work, and has made me a better person. That's my wife, Debbie. And we were very fortunate to raise a wonderful daughter, and one of the good things about that is she looks a lot like her mom, and she couldn't be here tonight. She lives in Geneva, Switzerland. We both said if we come back as something else, we want to come back as our daughter. She's going to be married in Scotland next summer, and she's just a wonderful kid. Went to Mizzou journalism and still is pursuing that career. Also, my extended family, Deb's family here, her brother Sam, her sister Angela are here. It's great of you to make it here, and they're great kids. And I'd also like to thank my parents. My mother's no longer with us, but she's with us in spirit. She was a classical pianist, so that helped me grow up to kind of learn to love classical music, and a very positive person. My dad, Ben, is 88 and still going strong. He actually, 4 years ago, he drove up to Alaska and back by himself. He got his first hole-in-one 2 years ago, 175-yard uphill par 3, so there's that. And he also instilled me with a real sense of being positive about everything. I think you really have to expect to be good, expect to be lucky, expect people to like you, make yourself like people. That was my dad. And so he and my sister Carol live in Kansas City, and they're Royal season ticket holders. Needless to say, they are rocking right now. They're having a great time. Also down here who came in to see me, Steve Anthony, and Steve, if you could raise your hand there. That's Steve. Steve was a fraternity brother of mine at Missouri, and we've kept in touch over the years. And Steve is now a presidential appointee. He's really done well. lives in Washington, D.C. in the transportation industry. And Steve also climbed Kilimanjaro with me 4 years ago. And Steve, don't ever let me talk to you in anything like that again. It was, needless to say, much harder, I think, than any of us expected. There was a time when I think all of us were sick, didn't feel good, 19,340 feet, and the final night, it took us 6 hours in about 5 degrees and windy, and we couldn't breathe because the air was so thin. And each step you took, you kept thinking, how much farther? But finally, we saw the sun pop out, and it was a life-altering experience for me because it let me know that virtually anything was possible. And I think all of us have that ability to do something that is beyond our comfort zone, and that's where the payoff is when you do something that's really, really difficult, and then it's done, and you can look at it and say, you know what, I don't even care if anybody else knows about it, but I know about it. And I think that's very important. So in wrapping up here, this was for accomplishments in the past, tonight's great honor, but all of us, I think, have a lot to look forward to. The future is very bright here in Buffalo. It's certainly bright for me. I'm looking for a lot of the people at my table there are going to be joining us in Scotland for a great wedding next summer. And I'm going to be learning how to wear a kilt. How good is that? Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. How about one really super Buffalo round of applause for all of our inductees for the class of 2014. Well deserved. Standing ovation for everyone. Thank you for being a part of another wonderful night here, a wonderful setting. Thanks to everyone at the Convention Center. Terrific speeches, terrific stories. That's what makes this such a great part of Buffalo, the Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame, our ability to honor and to let these folks share their wonderful memories, and for us to share our memories with them. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for watching. We've got the party squad and an after party on the other side of the wall, so don't go anywhere. Our celebration of Buffalo sports is not over yet. Thank you for coming. Have a good night. Thank you once again for being a part of the 2014 Greater Buffalo Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony.